This conference will now be recorded.
All right, looks like it's 3 minutes past the hour. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the March OCP server project meeting. We do have a light agenda today. We had two presentations that neither have made it through their legal in time, so they had to push out to next month. So next month we'll definitely have a crowded meeting with anything else that comes up. We do have the OCP Regional Summit coming up in Prague on the 19th and 20th. It is a in-person only, so we won't be able to join remotely. The full schedule is up on the website, and as usual, after the summit, they will be posting all the decks. So in a couple of weeks after that, we'll be able to review all the decks and the recordings from the summit. OCP leadership is changing the way they're doing the calendar procedures. Right now, they're setting up the calendar for everybody instead of letting the projects do it. They're changing that to allow the projects to do it themselves, but that means that all of the calendar invites will be canceled and recreated. So you may see some email on that or a calendar cancellation, and a new calendar series will come up after I do that. I think that's going to happen this week. So you can look for that. If you don't get a cancellation for the current series, it must not be connected in, and you need to delete it manually. Next up, OCP Foundation IC updates. CMAC or Michael, you have anything?
John, on the point that you made about calendars being redone, individuals, the best method perhaps to take advantage of the new method is to sign up with Group.io, OCP Group.io, and sign up for distribution lists that they are interested.
Yes, sorry, I should have said that.
Even for myself, I checked. It's nice that people put my name as part of the distribution list separately, but with the new method, it will not work that way. So I needed to go and specifically submit requests to be part of email distribution lists.
Right. So on the server wiki and every subproject wiki, there is the Get Involved mailing list link right here. I'll definitely send out an email on that because I should have mentioned that as well. So if you go to this mailing list, you'll sign up for all the different OCP Groups.io projects. The calendar invites will go out to those mailing lists along with the agendas that are sent out. From this, you can also see past emails. So if you click right here on March, here is the agenda for today if you didn't get it, if you weren't on the mailing list and didn't get it. So once again, that's from the server project wiki or any of the sub-project wikis to join the different mailing lists. Good call out.
Another point, sure. Another point, since a lot of people are interested in making contributions ahead of regional summit and normally global summit, there is a need for an ad hoc incubation committee kind of meeting this Thursday. So there will be another set of presentations there.
So just as the technical leads, the invites are going to be deleted, and then we go into the calendar page and we create it ourselves. Is that what we're going to do?
Yeah, that's right. You should have been getting emails on that. Have you not been getting emails?
Yeah, I've got an email, but saying this was going to happen. So it explains exactly there how to set the calendar invite up, does it?
Yes, it has a link to there that has directions.
Okay.
Alan, there was a question perhaps to individuals, project and sub-project leads. One of the questions included, do you want to do it yourself or do you want the OCP staff to do that the first time around for you? That was part of a survey they sent out.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the staff will create the first round, but I think it's better if we create our own because we'll be responsible for maintaining them, so we should know how to do it.
Yeah, well, actually, I want to go off our schedule and do one next week. So with all the change, I just want to make sure I get the out for next week. So
one important perhaps addition to this concept is sub-project leads and project leads having a running active list of who's participating in which sub-projects and subgroups, so that point of contacts are clear as well from different companies. So that we haven't done that one in a very formal way in the past. When you want to reach out people on a particular interesting topic, it is always good to know who is in the know, from which company, who's doing what. So having a good list will help everybody.
yeah, well, I keep a list of all the meetings, but okay. Okay, I found the procedures document, so I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah. Anything else, Mike?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have a ODSA sub-project with Bappy.
Yep, give me 1 second to get organized, please. I apologize. So in terms of highlights, we're pretty decent. What the heck? Sorry about that. I know it switched windows on me. We had pretty good progress on all our groups. The CDX group is continuing to make progress on a white paper. The file layer group is sort of, we've got a stable release of Bo 2.0, which we presented. So we're moving on to what's beyond 2.0. In the link layer group, I'd hope to present to this group today. We'd really like to present to the incubation committee in their next meeting, not tomorrow, but the one after, the early April meeting. And I think finally we have all the components of what we call an ODSA link, the file, the link layer, the control path, and a sideband all ready to go. I'm working on the control path document myself. In terms of the group as a whole, we had about 10 companies presenting on business challenges with chiplets, really good stuff. And what we're going to do is use that to sort of restart our business work stream in the ODSA. And in terms of contributions, we are on track, I think, to present Bo 2.0 to the incubation committee tomorrow. We have a transaction and link layer spec, which we largely presented at the OCP summit, and this is the spec. We didn't present formally to the server group, but this really built off this talk at the OCP summit that we hope to present at the next meeting of the incubation committee. And in terms of new contributors, we're working with a company called ATX, and we're looking to see whether they can contribute a substrate to our open interop package. And we think we have a board design. We potentially have somebody who can design the board for us. So the interop package is going to be the first demo that integrates chiplets from multiple vendors into one package, and we might have a board designer ready for that as well. So on the whole, fairly decent progress across the board, and we have a whole bunch of contributions coming down the pipe. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Anyone with questions for Bappy on ODSA? All right. Next up, we have Alan on HPC's subproject update.
Yeah, nothing. Just a brief verbal update from me. We completed our survey on just asking people if, with us moving forward with a much more of an energy-centric focus, sort of guiding light for the work group, and with also looking at creating a maker type community for CXL enablement and chiplet enablement. So the survey came back pretty royally positive on all of that. So I will look into whether it affects our charter. I'm not sure that it does, but I might work with some OCP management to just see if we should make any changes there. The only other thing to report is we are looking at really getting going with our first HPCM module design and getting the spec really started properly. And so I'm hoping just to pick up the pace a little bit going forward. So we're actually considerably hoping. And finally, I'm going to be at the regional summit in Prague. The Future Technologies Symposium does have an HPC track run by John Davies from Barcelona Supercomputing Center, and there's a bunch of papers there, so I'll be attending there if anybody's going to be there. Be happy to meet up. Thank you.
Alan, does the team feel comfortable sharing the result of your survey with the rest of the project team?
Sure. I can pop it up now if you wish.
Either now, I don't know if John has enough time for us today or not, or just send it out for people to review.
Yeah, we should be fine on schedule today. If you want to pop it up now and add it to your wiki so people can review it.
Yeah, it's actually on the wiki. It's in the minutes in my wiki already uploaded. In fact, that's
Awesome.
that's probably a good place for me to open it up from, actually thinking about it. Let me just. Do a second. Okay, so let me share my screen. We just make that a little bit bigger so it's not too much of an eye chart. Okay, so it was a fairly simple survey we did. We said the first question was, how important do you think energy efficiency is in high performance computing? We had a total of 19 responses, so not a massive set of responses, but not too bad. So obviously, not surprisingly, really on the energy efficiency in general, very important. So fairly unanimous there. The next question was, do you think an HPCM maker community would be beneficial for the enablement of a CXL ecosystem? And again, that was a fairly strong response of yes, and very beneficial, and yes, somewhat beneficial. The next question was, do you think an HPCM maker community would be beneficial for the enablement of a chiplet ecosystem? And that was similar, a little bit more neutral, but again, a fairly strong yes for very and somewhat beneficial. And then the final question would be, would you be interested in participating in an HPCM maker community? That included CXL and chiplet enablement. So again, a very positive response there. And then we had some comments, which I won't go through here, but just a couple of comments from various people in terms of what we could be doing. Okay. Any questions?
Alan, is the base structure for the chassis and such still OAI, and you guys are dialing into what the modular?
Yes, so that's a good question. Our original ideas were that we would be able to slide this into an OAI chassis, and that was some of the early work, as well as what we did with Molex's help in terms of building some 3D models. They were compatible with the chassis. That's still a possibility, but at the moment we're looking at just getting started with like a benchtop set up for researchers to be able to put a few modules together, like 1 to 4 modules together in a benchtop scenario. And the ultimate goal is to get to what we call a wall of compute, where we actually replace the racks in a data center with walls that these modules get mounted on. So that's a bit more radical. So in terms of having an OAI one, it would make sense to do that and fit nicely into the OCP ecosystem. But at this stage, I'm not sure what, at this stage, we're just focusing on the benchtop of 1 to 4 modules. And where we go next, whether we go to an OAI chassis or straight to a wall, I think depends on the interest we generate.
Well, one reason I was thinking that way was, as you said, the modules themselves are important, but they need to be interconnected.
Right.
So having some sort of formal or regular or known topology of interconnecting these will be good for people to start developing their frameworks or other things. So that either based on the wall of compute that you mentioned or an OAI, if the topology is worked through, so people can take advantage of known interconnects, they can develop their codes and such for that environment.
Yes. So to that, Siamak, the way the modules are architected is all cabled. So we would be able to faithfully replicate a standard UBB topology. You know, for if you've got a particular hypercube or auto-wall connection inside the OAI chassis on a UBB, we would be able to replicate that with cables in the module. In the
Right.
modules.
Right, but basically, maybe my question was, has the community, has the team looked through some of those topologies, and all those topologies are still valid for UBB, or are they thinking a little bit more freehand interconnect?
I think we're looking at more. Well, the whole idea of having the cable approach is that we can support any types of topology. For example, a lot of AI is sort of fat pipes between one big pipeline rather than a classic HPC type mesh. And in my experience from an embedded compute world, when you're using lots of heterogeneous processors, you have some very random topologies, and so that's part of the insight of this approach is you can wire up big fat pipes between two heterogeneous processors rather than having to go up and down through a top of rack switch or through other nodes to actually get the data between the two processors you want. So that's part of the uniqueness of what we're doing is the ultra flexible topology for a domain specific. It's all about being domain specific computing at the system level. We're doing it at the chiplet level today, and obviously we're making heterogeneous silicon, but we need to address this at the system level. So that's where we're focused.
Right, and just to share with you, my mind was wondering about how to take advantage of CXL for these topologies that
Yes.
into HPC. So that's why I was thinking about either backplane or UBB style or a fixed set of topology diagrams to map.
Yeah, we could make some that we would, if there was a setup. Well, so our first module hopefully will be a CXL based one. We've had presentations from XCOM. Elastic's Clouds have done stuff with FPGAs. So potentially that's another justification for an FPGA HPCM module where we could do the implement the CXL work that's been done by various people in FPGAs to date.
Right.
And Samsung are a good participant, and obviously they've got all their smart SSDs and smart CXL DOM.
Yeah,
So
if we can basically through this community work that you're doing, arrive at some topologies that are good for a lot of people to pile their work on, that would be good, instead of just saying anything is possible. If
yeah, no, that would be
is,
great, Mac. Yeah, if we've got a particular one to drive us, then that can drive which modules do we create first. And yeah, no,
right.
that
And basically, I was looking to HPC team to arrive at those useful topologies based on the use cases that they are driving. Otherwise, technology is capable of doing any of these things. But if we just keep saying that, nothing happens.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I'm also participating in the incubation work group, the AI hardware software co-design, and we do have somebody from the AI that's got an interest in what we're doing, and they're talking about in machine learning you tend to use the same setup for the learning and the inference, but we're getting a lot of dedicated inference chips these days, including from the company I work with, Untever. And he was suggesting that you want to keep the real inference chip with its idiosyncrasies in the loop, in the training loop, and you need different processing capabilities for doing the back propagations side of things. So that could be done in a heterogeneous architecture of CPUs, GPUs, and dedicated AI inference modules that you could wire together specifically. So that's one example that we're looking at. But yeah, application spaces would be good. Again, we can build any existing configuration with standards. We could rebuild a Summit node or a Frontier node, and any software stack that comes along as well. So there's lots of possibilities, but the AI one is one that's got a little bit of interest at the moment.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Alan.
Thanks.
Next up, we have Damien, the OCP NIC subproject. Damien, you're on mute.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Okay, let me share some updates today. So first of all is regarding a SmartNIC Summit. So OCP Foundation and the SmartNIC organizer are trying to support each other, whereby we plan to have some OCP NIC presence in the SmartNIC Summit. So this includes demos and presentations. Yeah, for those as attendee, there's a fee. Whoever will present will get a free pass. There's also a demo that we intend to do. OCP Foundation is willing to pay on behalf of the OCP NIC subgroup. Subproject is good. So currently we do have like Dell, Intel, Meta, NVIDIA have interest in this event. For those who have interest, do let me know. So I'm still seeking logical detail from the summit organizer. I just connected to them by Michael. Yeah. So this is held in June in San Jose. The next part is regarding the our existing SFFTA 1002 Auto 4C plus connector. So we realized that the PAM4 Gen 6 crosstalk was not defined. So Meta is willing to lead the discussion. So currently we have Semtech, Dell, Evernote, Marvell, and Intel in offline email chain. So Intel the SI team provided quite a bit of guidance on this area. For those who want to join the discussion, let me know. I did send it out to the OCP NIC, the reflector as well. And last but not least, a few updates on the SI test fixture. So the second set of prototype finally arrived, and initial checkout looks like that is fine from Dell, but it doesn't have a test resource. It's still working on the resource pool. However, Broadcom stepped up to test the CLB. So the Broadcom have received a unit to test. And the CPP expected to be global out already. Yeah, that's the update I have for this month.
Quick question. Does SI stand for system integration?
SFM for signal integrity.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yep, that's all I have. Back to you, John.
Damien, for the SI setup, I know that your team was looking at cable connections as well at some point. Is the SI setup only for basically backplane style connectors or cables as well?
The SI setup is actually the same form factor as the small form factor OCP NIC, so it can be plugged into a cable connection or a rigid connection.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Damien. Next, we have a song on OAI subproject.
Thanks, John. I have a verbal update for this month. We contributed the OAM and UBB to the IC for review and waiting for the feedback. And the workstream is going to shift the focus to work on the expansion module base spec and also the UBB tray mechanical spec as well. So I think the UBB tray mechanical spec is going to be looking into how to make the AGX and the UBB 2.0 to be compatible with with using the same UBB tray. That is the goal for the UBB tray. And this is the plan is that we going to submit this spec by Q2 timeframe. So now I think then we are going to move on to roll the version of the UBB and ON to the 1.0 later on. Yeah, this is my update for this month.
Thank you.
Is the team comfortable talking about who is actually building to that tray, that interoperable tray?
We have an ODM right now, but we still need to find a use case. Any design has been started to see if the any company will build the UBB 2.0. There are quite a few companies are interested in designing the UBB and ON 2.0, but we still need to look for the sponsor, right? I think right now I'm talking to one of the work stream lead right now, which is ODM, and see if we can build something like a test fixture or something for the interop. Yeah.
Building UBB is one thing. Let's just assume that somebody built the UBB. How
Yes.
about building the tray and the chassis that receives the tray? Are those being worked through as well?
Yeah, that is another plan that we try to do. Yeah.
Okay, but no one or two companies have raised their hands saying that that's what they're doing yet.
Not yet. Right now, the I'm still talking to the workstream member, and they're still looking for a customer of their own, right? Which is interested to build, and then they can contribute that.
Got it. Okay. In general, I quite understand that, of course, if there is a customer, that's much easier to move things forward. But I'm also wondering if there are multiple companies involved and people recognize the value of some reference design. If all of those companies, every one of them, pitches in a little bit to build some reference design, it will get not only the hardware move forward, but also allows software people to land their software on top of them as well, to kind of converge into a software hardware co-design eventually that somebody else can pick up and productize. The reference design need not be full-fledged production, but it should be good enough to run software. So I don't know if you share that one with the community, with the teams. It seems that there are a number of suppliers and a lot of suppliers of the silicon and suppliers of the systems are part of your team. Maybe there's enough momentum to build reference designs.
Yeah, agree with that. Yeah, that is something that we have done on the OAI 1.0, and we're going to do the same thing and see if any company interested to doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, if it is collaborative, the burden and risk is smaller, so maybe that helps.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Song. I did look out on the wiki. I don't see some of the updates that you were talking about on the wiki. If you would try and keep the wiki up to date so people can go to that and see what the current status is.
All right, John. Okay.
All right. Next up, we have Manoj on the composable memory system. Actually, I do not see Manoj on the call. So, does anybody else have anything to, any status update on the CMS?
I just know that they didn't meet for several weeks. I don't know if there is an update or not.
Okay.
Last they were working on um, identifying procedures for heat map for cycle mix determination within the CXL controller. Not sure if they finalized that or not.
Yeah, I don't know on that either. Okay, I'll ping him offline and see if we can get an update on the wiki for that. All right, next we have DCMHS subproject update. I believe it was be Sean today.
Yeah. All right. So let me share my screen. 1 second. Sorry for the difficulties. Okay. So couple news things on DCMHS. First off, Ampere has joined as a CLA member. This might have made it in last week's announcement, but nonetheless, this has been the month of transition as Ampere joins, so we're excited about expanding out the CLA membership. Second key thing is we had our first monthly public meeting this past week. This is as DCMHS continues to mature. We want broader engagement throughout the OCP community, and we are going to be holding a monthly public meeting, much of it modeled off of DCSCM. We had an incredible turnout. There were over 250 people that had called in, so we're excited by that kind of engagement. It was mostly a readout of what we've been up to, but as we go forward, we want to make it more of a public discussion and engagement, and so that's what we expect in the future. Just as some quick highlights of what we're focused on in 2023, we are looking at enabling a number of different HPM form factors, much of them optimized for OpenRack, but not limited to OpenRack. This includes adding formal support for 48 volt or higher, so 54 volts is an example, but 48 volt power distribution with HPMs. There's the second key element is the shared infrastructure base spec. And let me talk about that in just a second. So let me just give a quick graphic on the new form factors that we're looking at. They're meant to be highly orthogonal in a sense of that they all have interrelations with dimensions and mount points. And so as one designs for one, it's easy to accommodate the other by extension. So circling back to the shared infrastructure, we do have a big update in that we have released the version 0.3 of the spec. This spec is meant to give an idea of what we're thinking directionally, and at least as a high-level architecture for any general purpose shared infrastructure solution. This covers both interconnects with PCIe as well as CXL. So we've had some CXL discussion already in today's call. This is something that we'd like to get broader engagement within the community, and that the MSIF can be a reference point for enabling CXL-based solutions. We just need feedback on what how people see that they're going to apply CXL in the either the near future or intermediate future. And so again, call out that the spec is posted as a 0.3. We look forward to any type of feedback that anybody has. That's what I have for today.
All right, thank you, Sean. Yeah, that's an awesome turnout. I think I had a conflict and couldn't join that myself, but it sounds like we had a great meeting.
Well beyond expectations.
I just wanted to point out to the rest of the team that it's great that Sean is on board of directors of CXL. So having CXL technology finding its way into OCP being realized into systems is a very good opportunity for all of us to work together.
All right, good. Thank you, Sean. See, do we have Mohammed online? I don't see Mohammed online either for the external PCI connectivity. I know they did meet this week, so there should be an update. Let's see. I don't have the call or an update posted on their wiki yet. Okay. Next up, we have Tom on OCP SR IOV SIOV. I keep wanting to put SRIOV SIOV R2. Tom.
Yeah, I just have a quick verbal update today. So we're still kind of new and have a smaller audience team. Although we do have a new member. It sounds like heard earlier, Ampere joined DHS, but also has joined the SIOV R2 work group. So our full membership, just to reiterate, is ARM, AMD, Ampere, Broadcom, Intel, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Red Hat. And our focus has been on the first key thing is to identify the context identification plan of attack, as there's a strong PCIe dependency on this. So the team is working to converge on the proposal, which will follow through to an ECR engineering change request that we will collectively make to the PCIe committee. And several of the Ampere folks are actually on a lot of the working committees that will help us there. So that's actually one of the benefits and opportunities that we aligned on. That's our immediate focus. Past that, what we wanted to do was really revisit, the entire scope and what our timeline looks like. So we expect that we'll get convergence on this in the next month, and hope to come back to this project call in April with an update on what our timeline looks like and when we would be targeting to have the first review for comment version of the spec. So stay tuned next month for a bigger, broader update.
Okay, good. Yeah, and you don't have this work stream doesn't have its own wiki, so feel free to send me any documents to post to the main wiki that we want to get shared, because right now there's no way to get any kind of update on this other than verbally through the monthly meetings.
Yeah, I'll do that. That's a good AR for me. Thanks.
Tom, what's the vision for planting these techniques into software stack? When Linux, for example, will include these things?
Yeah, I think that's part of the timeline update. So I think the motivation is that this would be in software stacks, both open source and commercial, and our membership is geared to that end. But until we have the timeline, I won't be able to answer that. So hopefully next month I'll have a better idea of when that is, and then we can back into the software dependencies.
Got it. So not clear on the timeline, but the vision, that is the desire that eventually will, right?
That's exactly right. Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Next, we have a inter-project communication from the hardware management for DCSCM. Quinn?
This Chen, I have a verbal update. So we closed on major opens for the 2.1 specification, and we're working on editing the actual editing. We also had one meeting on the Type 1 design spec. So we're at a very early stage of the design spec discussion. That's all I have.
I say type 1. Can you get some clarification on what type 1 is?
One, so for the DCSCI, we have many functions per pin, alternative use cases for the pinout. So for type 1, we will have one function per pin and some HPM common circuit definitions. So it's more of a design specification built on top of the DCSCM base specification.
Yeah, Chen, since the broader server project team is interested in how these things will eventually find themselves onto motherboards and HPMs and such. So perhaps, if you don't mind, maybe the team can present wherever we are on how the type 1 definition of SCI is eventually finding itself into HPM. That's a cross project and perhaps with broader interest from people.
Right. So majority of the DC MHS companies are participating in this type 1 discussion. So many people are attending both groups. So I think that's and initially is how we cross-pollinate per se the two work groups.
That's good.
Okay. And there, I don't see anything on the wiki on type 1 yet. Will that be added in the future?
It will be added in the future. We have the preliminary pinout in the tracking, actually the spreadsheet. But other than that, we are at the very initial scoping stage.
Right. I think you're highlighting two points, and that's what I'm trying to also amplify. The pinout, which is at a connector stage, of course, that needs to be clear on DCSCI. But then the type of circuitry and components and such that need to be on HPM, on the host processor module, basically motherboard, is also important for the DCSCI type 1 to work. And perhaps people will be interested in knowing what that is. So yeah, anytime that the team feels comfortable publishing those at least high-level block diagrams or such, that would be good, especially if those companies are not part of the CLA group for DCMHS. They might still would like to get a sneak peek.
Okay. Right. So we don't have any of those yet. We had maybe 2 meetings identifying what we should cover in this effort. So we don't have any the next level technical details yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also seen some suggestions on making it deeper or 2U or vertical instead of horizontal. Has that been something that the work group has been talking about?
We do have the 2 vertical form factor definitions. That work has been completed, and we'll add that in the 2.1 spec.
Is that in the specification proposal, or where is that done?
That is still, let me see, I don't think that's published on the wiki yet because that was just closed a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so in last month's update, we talked about the vertical form factor and the month before that. So
All right, that's the end of the agenda I have today. We have a few minutes. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to bring up? All right. For next month, we have queued up the Yosemite V 3.5 and the Grand Teton. And I'm sure there'll probably be another presentation there as well. So I expect next month to be a more crowded agenda. I'd like to thank everyone for joining this month, and we'll see everyone next month.